ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। So, I welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam. So today we will discuss from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, chapter 60, verse number 16 to verse number 24. So first we'll recite verse number 24 and then we'll discuss from verse number 16 to 24. तस्यासु दुःखभयशोकविनष्टबुद्धेर् तस्याः सुदुःखभयशोकविनष्टबुद्धेर् हस्ताश्लतत्वलयतो व्यजनं पपाता हस्ताश्लतत्वलयतो व्यजनं पपाता देहश्च विक्लवधिया सहसैव मुह्यन् देहश्च विक्लवधिया सहसैव मुह्यन् रम्भेव वायुविहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान् रम्भेव विहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान् तस्याः सुदुःखभयशोकविनष्टबुद्धेर् हस्ताश्लतत्वलयतो व्यजनं पपाता देहश्च विक्लवधियः सहसैव मुह्यन् रम्भेव वायुविहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान् रम्भेव वायुविहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान् तस्यासु दुःखभयशोकविनष्टबुद्धेर् हस्ताश्लतत्वलयतो व्यजनं पपाता देहश्च विक्लवधिया सहसैव मुह्यन् रम्भेव वायुविहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान् Mataji. तस्यासु दुःखभयशोकविनष्टबुद्धेर् हस्ताश्लतत्वलयतो व्यजनं पपाता देहश्च विक्लवधिया सहसैव मुह्यन् रम्भेव वायुविहतो प्रवक्षीर्यकेशान्. Word to word meaning, translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Tasya, her, sudukha, by the great unhappiness, bhaya, fear, shoka, and remorse, vinashta, spoiled, buddhe, whose intelligence, hastat, from the hand, slathat, slipping, valayata, whose bangles, vajanam, the fan, papat, fell, deha, her body, cha, also, viklav, disrupted, dhiyaha, whose mind, sahasaev, suddenly, muhyan, fainting, Rambha, a plantain tree, Eva, as if Vayu, by the wind, Vihataha, blown down, Pravikirya, scattering, Keshan, her hair. Translation. Rukmini's mind was overwhelmed with unhappiness, fear, and grief. Her bangles slipped from her hand and her fan fell to the ground. In her bewilderment, she suddenly fainted, her hair scattering all about as her body fell to the ground like a plantain tree blown over by the wind. Purport. Shocked by Lord Krishna's words, Rukmini could not understand that the Lord was only teasing, and thus he displayed these ecstatic symptoms of grief, which Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti characterizes as sattvika ecstasies ranging from becoming stunned to dissolution. Hare Krishna. So I offer my humble obeisances to all the assembled devotees, especially from senior devotees. I beg blessings so that we can discuss something from this most sublime subject matter of Bhagavatam, which describes the activities of the Supreme Lord in his multi incarnations, in his incarnations as Purusha Avatara, which is known as Srishti Leela, and his incarnations as Leela Avataras, so many different incarnations, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narsimha, Rama, and personally, Krishna, Balaram, Saharamena Keshavaha, Karmani, Kritvan Karmani Kila Saharamena Keshavaha. So, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Shaunakadi Rishi, when they inquired about the Supreme Lord, so they specifically mentioned that we are very eager to hear about all the pastimes of all the incarnations of the Lord, Avatar Katha Shubha, because all these pastimes performed by any of the incarnations of the Lord are very auspicious. So we want to hear, we are very eager, and they are like a boat, and you are like a captain. The pastimes of the Lord and their activities and Bhagavat. Bhagavat means anything which is in relationship with the Supreme Lord. Means the Supreme Lord's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. These are like a very strong boat which helps one to cross over the nescience of this material existence, specifically this faulty age of Kali, in which we find only faults and faults everywhere. Uh, Just like we have ocean of salt, in the ocean of salt only salt is there. Similarly, in this ocean of faulty age of Kali, only all the faults are there. But Shaunakadi Rishi, they requested to narrate these pastimes of the Supreme Lord, which can act like a strong boat and properly directed by a pilot, expert, a captain, known as the spiritual master, expert captain, bona fide spiritual master, a pure devotee. When he narrates these pastimes, so that gives the opportunity for all the conditioned souls to cross over this material existence. That is why they specifically mentioned that we want to hear all the auspicious pastimes of the Lord. And then specifically in those different incarnations, they wanted to hear about Swayam Bhagavan, how the Lord Krishna, along with Balaram, he performed various pastimes. So this entire 10th canto is the answer to the question of Sonakadi Rishi, what they asked in the first chapter, that we want to know about Krishna's pastimes. So in this way, this chapter, the name of this chapter is Krishna teaches Rukmini, and Krishna is performing ideal householder life. And what is the purpose? Why the Lord is performing these different kinds of pastimes? Actually, the Lord, when whatever activities he does, whatever he speaks, and whatever means qualities he exhibits, all those qualities, activities, and pastimes, they are performed on transcendental level with a purpose to give happiness, bliss to his pure devotees, with the purpose to give an opportunity for all the conditioned souls to become free from the entanglement of this material world. Uh, So the same pastimes which the Lord performs in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual world, and through which He uh, makes His devotees drown in the ocean of complete bliss. The same pastimes, when He comes in this material world, He presents some glimpse of those pastimes, so that we who are conditioned in this material world may get an opportunity and associate with the Lord in the form of His katha, in the form of His pastimes, and hence we may uplift our consciousness from three modes of material nature to transcendental mode. Because the Lord, whatever He performs, those activities are transcendental. Lord Krishna explained, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tatvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma na eti maam eti. One who understands that my activities, all the activities, are beyond the modes of material nature. There are three modes of material nature: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So in this world, anyone, whether he is demigod, Rakshasa, human being, animal, every living entity who are conditioned, when they perform any activity, activities are performed through our body, mind, intelligence, and senses. So any of the living entity in this world, when they perform any of the activities using body, mind, senses, intelligence, those activities are influenced or forced or triggered from the modes of material nature, modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness. When a living entity is under the pressure of mode of goodness, from the force of mode of goodness, she acts in a serene way, means he acts in a sober way. His mind is peaceful and his activities are pleasing to others, and he is peaceful. But when the mode of ignorance is triggered, those activities becomes sinful, when he is forced to perform sinful activities. And when the mode of passion is triggered, he is forced to perform activities for the sake of sense gratification. But when the Lord performs any of the activity, all his activities are not triggered or forced from any of these modes of material nature. In this world, when a person becomes angry, so that is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. Means he is influenced by the mode of ignorance, and because of the force, not even without his desire, he has to become angry. When a person becomes lusty, when a person is too active to accumulate the objects of the sense gratification, so he is forced by the mode of passion, rajoguna, to perform those activities. And sometimes when a person she becomes a so-called person who performs welfare activities for others, when the person he is in knowledge, he gives guidance, he is peaceful, and he has the qualities of forgiveness, tolerance. So these are triggered by the modes of goodness. But when when Lord comes, or any of his pure devotee, they come and perform any kind of these activities, they are not forced by modes of material nature. When Lord Ramchandra, he became very angry upon seeing this how the ocean is not giving the way, so he became very angry. His eyes were reddish, lips were quivering, and he took up his bow and he wanted to shoot. So that was not the exhibition of mode of ignorance. So when Lord becomes angry, that is also not the mode of ignorance. And when the Lord peacefully sits down and he speaks something, some knowledge, so that is also not triggered by mode of goodness. In both the cases, the Lord is performing those actions or activities or exhibiting those qualities from his own internal potency. Atma Maya, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Atma Maya means internal potency. From his own sweet will, he performs these kinds of activities. So similarly, in this chapter, we find that how Lord Krishna is acting like an ordinary human being, ordinary human householder, husband-wife relationship. So in husband-wife relationship, they have some kinds of joking and these kinds of activities. The Lord is exhibiting, the activities are performed, and it appears that it's like some ordinary husband-wife conversation. But ordinarily, these activities are performed with the force of mode of passion. But when the Lord is doing this, so this is completely in the transcendental mode. So that is why here we find Sukdev Goswami, who was completely liberated personality by birth, Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Peta Krityam. Sud Goswami, when he offered his obeisances to Srila Sukdev Goswami, so he said, Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Peta Krityam, means one who, as soon as he took birth, Pravrajantam. Pravrajantam means completely rejecting this material atmosphere, material existence. He went to forest just to take renounced order of life. So that same Sukdev Goswami, who had no material affection, compassion, free from modes of passion, ignorance, when he was invited by Parikshit Maharaj to speak on the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, he took his entire, all the time, for continuously for 7 days and 7 nights, he started describing various transcendental qualities of the Lord, beginning with the manifestation of this material universe, creation, Srishti Leela, and then through that, Sukdev Goswami very nicely explained, mentioned that the pastimes or activities or anything in relation with the Supreme Lord is beyond this material modes of nature, transcendental. The Lord performs everything transcendentally situated. So in this way, from first canto to ninth canto, he explained the Tattva, Krishna Tattva, and principles of spiritual realm. And then in 10th canto, in great detail, the same Sukdev Goswami, who was completely liberated, is explaining the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. So definitely we can understand these pastimes are not the activities of ordinary husband and wife, although it appears that this is also like ordinary human being. Why it is so? Because in the 15th chapter, the Lord explains, first verse, Urdhamulam Adha Shakham Aswatham Prahuravayam. That this material existence is like a reflection of the spiritual world, like a tree. If you go in on the bank of a pond, and if there is a tree, you will find the reflection of the tree on the water. So that reflection exactly resembles the original tree, but it has no substance. But there is gulf of difference. The same fruits, branches, twigs, leaves, you will find on the reflection also, and it will appear like exactly the same. But actually, this is not the same. Similarly, the activities or whatever we see in this material world, and all kinds of activities and all kinds of relationships or rasas, mellows in this world, they are in existence because of the reflection of the original rasa or original pastimes, activities in the spiritual world. So the activities performed in this material world by conditioned living entities, they are imitation or reflection of the original activities performed in the spiritual world. Not that the Lord's activities which he performs in this material world resemble like human being. Just like this human form of body. So many people, some people, they think that God is made in the image of human. But actually it's the other way around. The human beings are made in the image of God. God is not like us. We human beings, they look like God. Similarly, the Lord's pastimes are not like human pastimes of the human activities of the human beings, but the activities of the human beings in this material world, or their relationships, rasas, in Santya Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsal and Madhurya Rasa, they are the reflection of the original pastimes, rasas, which are found in the spiritual world. And because they are reflections, they appear the same. But there is a great difference. What is the difference? The difference is those pastimes which the Lord performs in his various expansions in the spiritual world, those pastimes are original, full of spiritual rus and full of bliss, permanent, not temporary. And original means they are the adiras. Adi means original means they are the substance, vastav vastu. Na dharma projita kaitavatra निर्मत्सराणाम सताम परमो निर्मत्सराम सताम वेद्यम वास्तव वस्तु अत्र शिवदम तापत्रयोन्मूलनम. The Bhagavat explains about this. Dharma projita kaitava. The all kinds of kaitava dharma. Dharma means activities performed by the conditioned souls in this world are called as kaitava dharma. Those dharmas which are influenced by the modes of material nature, satogun, rajagun and tamogun, शारीरिक धर्म, दैहिक धर्म, मानसिक धर्म, and all kinds of those activities which are performed in relationship with the body. So those are known as dharma kaitava, kaitava dharma. So already this kaitava dharma has been rejected from Bhagavatam. And then what is mentioned? Vastava dharma is mentioned. Vastava, vedyam vastava vastu. So what is vastava vastu? Vastava vastu is the activities, pastimes and glories, qualities of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world. And when the Lord comes in the material world, he is not influenced by the three modes of material nature, rather being in the same transcendental situation, because he is Mayadhis, the Lord of the universe, Lord of the modes of material nature. So being in the same transcendental position, when the Lord comes in this material world and performs any of the activities, those are actually substance, vastav vastu. And except this, everything else is false. Activities are false. When one performs any of the activities not in the relationship with the Lord, then he comes into the influence of Maya. And because of that, one gets this bhaya, shoka, unhappiness, dukh. Bhayam dutiya abhiniveshatasya. Dutiya means not transcendental. Means the Lord is transcendental. Lord is the supreme, and Lord, the activities the Lord and his devotees performs, being situated in any of the transcendental relationship, rasa, those activities are actually substance. And dutiya abhiniveshatah means substance, the opposite of substance is maya, that which does not exist, or reflection, that is reflection. So when one invests his consciousness in dutiya, means in maya, or in the activities of this material world, then he experiences bhaya, or fearfulness, and shoka. But when the devotee, pure devotees, when they are engaged in the transcendental relationship with the Lord, they also experience these kinds of emotions, bhaya, shoka, and happiness, all these things. But they exist in original form, in transcendental. Their quality is also transcendental. That is why instead of giving dukkha, pain, or instead of binding them, those feelings, those ecstasies, they give immense pleasure, unlimited bliss, both to the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And that is why here we find that in the relationship with the Rukmani, when the Lord is teasing Mother Rukmani, so Mother Rukmani experiencing these ecstatic symptoms. That is why in this verse, Srila Sukdev Goswami is, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is commenting in this verse number 24, that Rukmani, Mother Rukmani displayed the ecstatic symptoms of grief. So grief, fear, unhappiness, and loneliness, separation, all these qualities, transcendent qualities, are also exhibited by pure devotees in relationship with the Supreme Lord, but they exhibit these qualities in transcendental manner, and that is why they experience great bliss instead of pain, suffering of this material world. So we'll proceed ahead. In the last text, number 15, Lord Krishna concluded that is just to tease Mother Rukmani that you may marry any of the great heroes present in this earth planet, because marriage should be done in equal with equals. So in the last verse, Krishna explained this. In the 16th verse, now Krishna explains, Vaidharvye tada vigyaya tvaya dirgha samikshaya vritavayam gunayarhina bhikshubhi shlagita mudha. Oh, Vaidharvi, not being far-sighted, you didn't realize this, and therefore you choose us as your husband, even though we have no good qualities and are glorified only by deluded beggars. So Krishna is explaining, which is true. In the upcoming verses, Mother Rukmani will prove all these statements to be true. So here Krishna is saying that Vrita Vayam Gunayar Hina, we are Gunayar Hina, so which is of course true. Guna means the three modes of material nature. Passion, goodness and ignorance, just I was explaining. So Krishna is indeed completely free from all kinds of guna, this guna of this material nature. So Vrita Vayam Gunayar Hina and Bhikshu Bhi Shlagita Mudha. And who can actually glorify or understand this position of the Supreme Lord? Bhikshubhi. Bhikshubhi means beggars. Beggars means who doesn't have anything. So Krishna's devotees are Niskinchana or Bhikshubhi. Bhikshubhi means they have nothing of this material world to possess. That is why they are Bhikshubhi. And when a devotee becomes like a Bhikshu, means he doesn't possess anything of this material world. Although he may live in possession of all the objects of this material world, but from inside, because of being situated in transcendental position, Divya Guna, he is completely indifferent to all kinds of material possession, and he does not identify himself with this body. So hence, anything which is related with this body, he is not at all attached to it. That is why he is known as Bhikshu. He may live in the opulences like Maharaj Ambarish. Maharaj Ambarish is also Bhikshuk, Niskinchana. Although he was the Chakravarti Samrat of the entire earth, but because he was situated in transcendental position, identifying himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Lord and just a representative of the Supreme Lord, as a representative of the Supreme Lord, he was performing his household activities, his Rajakiya karma. So, Bhikshuk means one who has no possession of this material world. Only they can understand the position of the Supreme Lord, being completely unattached to this material existence, free from the qualities of material modes of nature. And this is explained by Krishna also in the Bhagavad-gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. Only one who is situated in transcendental position, only he can understand Lord's activities and pastimes to be transcendental. One who is influenced by the modes of material nature, he can see the Lord also in the Lord is also influenced in the modes of material nature. Just like this is a saying, Atmavat Manyate Jagat. One who himself is afflicted by lusty desires, influenced by Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsar. So when he sees the Lord performing any of the activities, so he also thinks that he is also influenced by Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsar. One who is feeling too tired, he says the other person that I think you are tired, because he himself is tired. Like we hear one pastime of Srila Prabhupada when he went to Hyderabad, and then that Mr. Nayar's guru, he was very much tired during the conversation. So the guru said, Swamiji, I think you are very tired, so better you take rest. Tomorrow we'll discuss. Then Prabhupada said to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, you go now and see. The guru and Chela both are sleeping now. That means he was feeling tired. That is why he was thinking that Srila Prabhupada is feeling tired. And so this is the conception. One who is himself influenced by, under the influence of material modes of nature, he thinks everyone else is under the influence of material nature. And that is why he cannot understand the transcendental nature of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So in order to situate ourselves in this transcendental mode, only these great acharyas, Sukdev Goswami and other acharyas, Ved Vyasji, Narad Muni and all the acharyas, they explain the truth of Krishna Tattva. They explain, and then gradually when we perform this devotional service, process of devotional service, by performing this sadhana bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, specifically the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. So by this process, what happens? Mam cha vyavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samittaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. When one performs this kind of abhyavicharani bhakti means without interruption, without motivation. When one engages one's senses in the service of the Lord, then without his knowledge, he transcends the modes of material nature, and in that position only he can actually appreciate the pastimes of the Lord. Gunair Hina, that the Lord is Gunair Hina, and whatever he performs, whatever he does, those are transcendental activities. Only in this situation he can understand. So Krishna is telling that Bhikshu bhi shlagita mudha. Shlagita mudha means praised. Mudha out of their bewilderment. Krishna is using the word because these bhikshuk, they have nothing to possess. So they become bewildered about my position, and then they glorify me, praise me. So mudha, bewilderment, means the devotee, because of being situated in transcendental love with the Supreme Lord, she becomes bewildered. And that bewilderment is not the bewilderment of this material modes of nature. He becomes bewildered in ecstasies of what he experiences when he renders loving devotional service to Krishna. In that bewilderment, he praises the Lord, and he forgets the normal etiquette, or he forgets about his own existence. And that is why we find in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukdev Goswami is explaining the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes these pastimes are not in chronological order. So out of ecstasy he is speaking, and out of ecstasy Ved Vyas is writing. So this is Shlagita Mudha. Next, Krishna is explaining Athatmano anurupam vai bhajasva kshatriya rishabam yena tvamashisha satya iha mutra cha lapsyase. Now you should definitely accept a more suitable husband, a first class man of the royal order, who can help you achieve everything you want, both in this life and the next. So Krishna is giving proposal. Lord Krishna continues to tease his beautiful wife, trying to provoke her loving anger. Zatha, therefore, you still have the chance that you can leave my company, you can leave me, and marry any of the heroes present in this world, and so that you can fulfill all of your desires in this life and the next life. So that means if anyone wants to fulfill his material desires, if anyone wants to become entangled and remain situated in this material existence, then he can give up the company of the Supreme Lord. Then he should not associate with Lord Krishna, because one who associates with the Supreme Lord Krishna, then definitely he is not going to get anything of this material existence. Means indirectly Krishna is telling that the person who becomes my devotee, who takes shelter unto my lotus feet, he is sure to become free from the entanglement of this material existence. So anyone who wants to remain situated in material world and to enjoy the facilities, resources of this material world, wants to get material happiness, prosperity, then he should definitely not take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, because one who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, then he will forget everything, all material enjoyment. Even if the Lord then he may give all kinds of material benedictions also, the devotee will have no interest in enjoying the material world. So that is why Krishna is telling, if you want to fulfill your desires in this life, both in this life and next, then better you give up my company, because I am Gunair Hina and I am only praised by Bhikshu bhi. My devotees, my followers, all they are also Bhikshu, beggars. They don't have any interest in this material world. And Krishna in next verse, coming verses, he is explaining the same thing again. Then he says, Chaitya salva jara sandha danta vakradayo nipa mama dushvanti vamoro rukme cha pitavagrajaha. So all these great kings like Shishupal, Shalva, Jarasandh, and Dantavakra all hate me, O beautiful third one, and so does your elder brother Rukmi. So all these great personalities, they have so much influence, they are so powerful. So, but nobody likes me. And I already mentioned who likes me, who becomes my devotee, who praises me. So better you change your decision and select any of these great heroes. Tesham Vedamadandhanam Driptanam Smayanuttaye Anita Simaya Bhadre Tejo Paratasatvat Tejo Paratashatam. It was to dispel the arrogance of these kings that I carried you away, my good woman, for they were blinded by the intoxication of power. My purpose was to curb the strength of the wicked. So, Mother Rukmani might argue that if you are so detached, you have no qualities, nothing, so then why did you come and kidnap me? Then Krishna said, I kidnapped you not to accept you, not because I was attracted to you, or not because I wanted to have you as my wife, but I did this just to curb down these great kings, those who were blinded by intoxication of material opulence, material strength. So just out of this desire to curb them, to teach them a lesson, because they hated me. So that is why, just to just to curb their strength, I did this, and this was my prayojana. So this is the one of the actions of the Supreme Lord, that he does not tolerate these people who falsely become puffed up, and because of their because of being blinded by the influence of their material strength, they go and roam and on the entire earth, and they try to subdue others, and perform all kinds of the sinful activities. So the purpose of his descent is also this, and the Lord is explaining this. Udasina vayam nunam naistriyapathyartha kamuka atmalabdhyasmahe purna gehayor jyoti akriyaha. We care nothing for wives, children, and wealth, always satisfied within ourselves. We do not work for body and home, but like a light we merely witness. So Krishna is explaining, Udasina vayam nunam. Definitely we are completely indifferent to all kinds of material attachments. We have no interest in taking care of wife, children, wealth, all these things. I'm completely free from kamukaha, means hankering. So this is also very much true. The Lord has no desire. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad-gita, Nana avaptabhyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. That there is nothing in the entire three world which I desire to have. I am completely desireless, free from all kinds of desires. I have no hankering, I have no requirement, and nothing is there in this world which I want for myself, so that I may become satisfied. I am self-satisfied. Atma labdhyas mahe purna. Atma labdhyas mahe means whatever is with me, I am completely satisfied with that only. Apurna. I am completely full in all. Mother Rukmani will explain this in great detail in upcoming verses, that why the Lord, whatever he's saying here, is completely true, because nothing in this world is which is not in the possession of the Lord. This entire world is Lord himself. So there is nothing outside the Lord which he wants to get. So Krishna is explaining here, he is completely udasina, but still we find Krishna perform so many various activities. So this is simple proof. Anyone can understand that even though Krishna doesn't desire anything from this material world, and there is nothing in this world which can be given to Krishna so that he may become satisfied, but still he performs so many activities. He engages himself in performing activities which appears like ordinary human activities. So what is the reason? The cause must be something transcendental. And what is the cause? He he performs these activities just to please his devotees, to engage himself in some of the relationship with his devotees, so that the devotees and the Lord, both of them, can be situated in transcendental relationship and experience transcendental bliss, just to perform his pastimes. This is one of the reason. And the second reason is the Lord wants to reform the situation of the conditioned soul. He wants to free them from this entanglement of material existence. That is why he performs these wonderful activities. So he has multi-purpose to perform these activities. Like in this case of Rukmani, in the next verse, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is explaining that Shri Shuka Uvacha Etavaduktava Bhagavan Atmanam Vallabhamiva Manyamanam Avishleshat Taddarpagna Uparamat. Sukadeva Goswami said, Rukmani had thought herself especially beloved by the Lord because he never left her company. By saying these things to her, he vanquished her pride and then he stopped speaking. So this was the one of the purpose of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Why Krishna was teasing Mother Rukmani. So this, although this is appearing like ordinary dealing between husband and wife, so one of the motivation was of Krishna was to glorify the transcendental qualities of Mother Rukmani. That how she is so devoted and so humble and so much in love with the Supreme Lord Krishna that she could not even imagine becoming separated from the Supreme Lord. That is why even in this joking conversation also she took very seriously. Although when this conversation was going on with Mother Rukmani, Lord Krishna already had grandchildren, and even he was preparing for their marriages also. So already so many years the Lord has spent his time with Mother Rukmani. So there was no question of becoming separated. But still, because Mother Rukmani had so much intense love, that is why she could not understand, could not take these joking words like jokes. She took it seriously and she became very fearful, frightened that she may lose the Supreme Lord. She may lose Lord Krishna. So this is also one of the characteristics of devotee. He is very, very humble. She does not think that she is the queen of Dwarka. She is directly the goddess of fortune, and the Supreme Lord never becomes separated from the goddess of fortune. But still, out of intense love, and because of this love, the transcendental quality of humility is there within the heart of Mother Rukmani. And because of this transcendental quality of being so humble, she thinks that she is completely unqualified to serve the Lord. So that means it shows that Mother Rukmani, when she got Krishna as her husband, so she had this consciousness that this is not because of my qualification, this is the greatness or causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord that he accepted me as his one of maid servant. That is why when the Lord is speaking of becoming separated, Lord is speaking that he may leave her, so she is becoming frightened because the Lord, out of his own sweet will, causeless mercy, he accepted me, and now I have, earlier also I did not have any qualification, now also I did not have any qualification. So Lord is completely independent and he may reject also, and there will be nothing wrong in doing this from the side of the Supreme Lord. That means he is not going to point out the mistake. She is not going to see the fault in the Lord. That is why she will experience this great fear and anxiety when the Lord finally says this. So here Krishna, just to Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that he vanquished her pride and then he stopped speaking. So what is the meaning of this vanquishing the pride of Mother Rukmani? This pride or this the false ego, this is not like false ego. This is not the pride like what we observe in this material world, that one develops this pride that I am so great, I am so qualified. That is why I am being honored, I am being given so much attention. This is not the pride like this. This pride is this is also in the transcendental way. The Lord is exhibiting, and his devotees, they exhibit these qualities. In this pride, being the this is also transcendental quality. So when this kind of pride comes, then the devotee comes in this consciousness that the Lord is always available with me, and he is always merciful to me. He is always, he is great. He is such a great personality. Even though he is completely qualified, I am not at all qualified, but he is always merciful to me. So he will never give up my company. He will never reject me. So this kind of pride the Lord wanted to vanquish and make her um, come in the situation of experiencing another kind of transcendental ecstasy known as having the fear of being separated from Krishna. Uh, So the Mother Rukmani, being always in the presence of the Supreme Lord, she was always serving the Supreme Lord, and the Lord was always reciprocating with her loving devotional service. So she was having this ecstasy of in union with the Supreme Lord. So Lord desired to give her a more transcendental ecstasy known as the fear of getting separated from the Supreme Lord. So this is one of the functioning of the Lord. So when the Lord performs any activity for the conditioned souls, uh, so he may give sometimes opulences to devotees of this material world, and sometimes he may take away the opulences. The purpose being to make them completely dependent upon him. Like when the Lord contemplated this Sudama Brahman, he was fully qualified. He was completely situated in transcendental position, always in performing loving devotional service to Krishna, and he was not at all attached to any of the opulences of this world. But he had, because of being situated in this way, he developed some kind of little tinge of this uh, sentiment, this emotion that I am completely free from this material opulence. So Lord, in order to make him become completely qualified in all situation, the Lord gave him opulences so that he may become free from all kinds of tinges of this conception, material conception, that I am detached, and in a detached way also in any condition of life, I am always performing pure devotional service. So seeing the situation, because the Supreme Lord is Bhavaluntana ko videti. King Kulsekhar mentions this in the first verse of Mukund Mala Strota. The Lord, one of the name of Lord is Bhavaluntana ko videti. That means one who is very expert to deliver his devotees. The Lord Kovida means who is very intelligent, one who knows exactly that what can be done for a living entity so that he may become completely free from the entanglement of this material existence. In this way, sometimes the Lord Harishye tad dhanam shanay, yashaham anugranami Harishye tad dhanam shanay. Sometimes he may take away the opulences of some of the devotee who are attached towards the opulences. And sometimes when the Lord finds that some of his devotee who is completely unattached to the opulences, so that is also a little bit stumbling block on the performance of pure devotional service. So for to eradicate this attachment, the Lord sometimes may give the full opulences to his devotee. And the devotee, because of already being situated in pure devotional platform, transcendental platform, he never misuses these things, and rather he engages everything in the service of the Lord. So these are the wonderful activities of the Supreme Lord. Now we have only 5 minutes. I'll just recite verse number 22. इति त्रिलोकेशपतेस्तदात्माना प्रियस्य देवि अश्रुतपूर्वमप्रियम् आश्रुत्य भीतरिदिजातवे पथुश्चिन्तां दुरन्तां रुदति जगामः. Goddess Rukmani had never before heard such unpleasantries from her beloved, the Lord of the universal rulers, and she became frightened. A tremor arose in her heart, and in terrible anxiety she began to cry. Padasujate nanabharunashriya Bhuvan likhantashrubiranjanashitay Asinjati kumkumarushitaustanau Tattasthab adho mukhiyati dukkaruddhavak. While her tender foot, effulgent with the reddish glow of her nails, she scratched the ground, and tears darkened by her eye makeup sprinkled her kumkum-reddened breast. There she stood, face downward, her voice choked up by extreme sorrow. So in this way, finally, Mother Rukmani experienced a great transcendental ecstasy of transcendental fear and anxiety of being separated from the Supreme Lord. And this made her completely humbled, and she became fainted. And this in the last 24th verse purport, it is mentioned, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Rupa Goswami mentions about these ecstasies from beginning from stunned to complete dissolution. Complete dissolution, sometimes it happens that the devotee who who experiences such kind of great transcendental ecstasy, in that situation sometimes he leaves the body. And we find some of the great devotees, because of this great transcendental ecstasy, ultimately they leave the body and join the complete eternal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna. So with this I'll end here. Thank you very much for all of your presence and kind and patient sharing. Hare Krishna. If there is any comment or question, may I ask. Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
हरे कृष्ण। प्रभु के 16,108 पत्नियां थी, जिसमें रुक्मिणी देवी पट्ट रानी थी, सबसे प्रमुख थी और सभी इसको मानते थे। बाकी सब तो प्रेम का लक्षण क्या है? विरहेन व्याकुलति। जब ऐसा लगता है अपना प्रिय का विरह हो जाएगा, वो अपने से दूर हो जाएंगे, तो चित्त व्याकुल होता है। तब प्रभु इस प्रकार से उनको बोले, एक प्रकार से प्रताड़ित किए, तो क्या हुआ? रुक्मिणी का चित्त व्याकुल हुआ और इतना व्याकुल हुआ वो खड़ी नहीं रह सके, एकदम गिर गई और मूर्छा को प्राप्त हुई, बेहोश हो गई। फिर कृष्ण पलंग से नीचे उतार कर उसका हवा लगा फहराए, पानी छिड़के और शांत होने पर उसको सांत्वना दिया कि मैं जो कुछ बोला हूँ ये सही नहीं है, मैं खाली आपसे हंसी मजाक कर रहा था, तो आप बुरा मत मानिए। आप मुझे प्रिय है और पहले ही प्रिय है, अभी भी प्रिय है और हमेशा प्रिय रहोगी, और आपको छोड़कर मैं कहीं नहीं जाऊंगा। तब वो शांत हो गई। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्णा। थैंक यू प्रभु। हरे कृष्णा। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर चंद्र की जय।
His Grace